Hello and welcome to the Zonal Weakness brought to you by Ghana Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And look, before I introduce myself and before we talk about the game week, look who's back.
Nice to be back.
Hello, Bethany. Welcome. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
I'm good, thank you. Yes, it's been a long time, but yeah, good to be back.
I don't know when was the last time I saw you. I mean, which game week?
I don't even know. I mean, I think I've had a few crazy game weeks since we've seen each other. I think because I kept all my chips to the end of like the first half of the season. So I had a triple. I don't think I've seen you for my triple captain week, where I had triple captain Haaland, 48 points, a bench boost week where I had like 24 on the bench. I managed to have Van de Ven and Dubravka both get 11 points each on my bench. Like incredible weeks, which showed up. But then a bit of a roller coaster. Then had all of my players injured. Had like Bruno, Burn, Rice, Ekitike, Keane. Like I just had half my team injured. And then Voltemada decided you'd only get 10-minute cameos. So I ended up taking -16. So I've gone from like ending this first half of the season on such a high to then taking a -16. Considered the wild card, didn't have enough time to plan it. And then, yeah, last week ended up on another green arrow and I'm back sitting just outside the top million. So I feel like I'm okay going into the second half of the season. Not perfect, not exactly where I'd want to be, but I feel like 100k is still in sight if things go nicely. How about you? Where are you at?
A bit of a roller coaster. So at least in our private league, I was there from nowhere to top and then straight down. So it was like more of a graph in a stock market, to be honest. For me, I just rocketed and then reached the top and then stayed there for a week or two. And then that's it. Went down. Everything was going smooth until I decided to play my wildcard in game week 18, only keeping in mind that I was going to play my bench boost in game week 19. And those two chips just didn't work really. And I think there was a time when I was on my wildcard, at least I played, I picked all the players that tend to play 90 minutes. So that was a good move. But yeah, that was this game week 19 was the week when Keane had to be mysteriously injured and others didn't turn up. And then, while playing my bench boost, it was just 13 players. Yeah, 13 players is all I had. The rest of them didn't play. But in the rest of the weeks, usually when I don't play, I mean, not every week we get to play the bench boost, right? So every time, if I look at my bench, I see all my players have played and, they played full minutes and they got 1-2 points and stuff, or one of them contributed. I actually initially had the idea of playing the bench boost in game week 18. That was the week when Dubravka and other Dalot and Dorgu, they kind of scored a lot of points. But then my team didn't have those kind of players. So I played my wildcard in that week and then next week. And then things went downhill from there. So I'm currently 1.6. So yeah, I wouldn't say like I'm disappointed, but I think I was very happy that I had reached 500,000 from 3.3 million over a couple of weeks, which is great. But then I came back to 1.6. So yeah, find myself in a position where I think, the rest of the season could still be interesting and, you can still finish on a high note.
Very tight, isn't it? Like things are, you can change quite rapidly in either direction.
Yeah, and I don't think so. The distance is quite a lot. I mean, the point difference is not so much, to be honest, right? It's at least like looking at my private league and overall rank, and then I see that it's just if you're behind 5 points, you're a couple of 100,000s away, right? So that kind of says
I looked, it was about 70 points between like million and 100k, something like that, which over like half of a season, over 19 game weeks, like that's just a couple of points each game week, or a few really good game weeks. So definitely doable.
Just 70 points difference between
like
the 100,000
and a million.
Oh, wow.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not terrible.
So one of my podcaster, the weekly podcast that we do, one of the podcasters, he was 56 points behind me when I was skyrocketing. And then he ended up catching me up now already. And now he's overtaken me just in a matter of 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's very realistic what you said, that 70 points is not really a big margin, to be honest. Yeah. But anyway, to get those 70 points, let's try and focus on the zonal at least, because at least that's what I'm looking at. So here it is. This is the zonal weakness for Game Week 22. And of course, we are back after a little bit of a break in Game Week 21 and 20. We were not here. I think last we did was Game Week 20 and 21 we didn't do because we were having a get together among all the followers here in our country, trying to meet and discuss FPL. So that was the evening when instead of doing a show on live show, we kind of met and personally came to know each other offline rather than having these interactions online all the time or over the years. So we are back, and I hope we'll be continuing regularly as well. And Bethany's back as well, so she'll be joining us on a regular basis as and when she can. And if you haven't followed or liked or subscribed to our channels, please do so now, because we are producing regular content. And of course, all the content and everything, all the stats that you see are from the Fantasy Football Scout. If you're interested in the account or the membership, please click in the link in the description below. And of course, you'd get a percentage of discount for you. So hurry up and let's get started on the zonal weakness. So here it is. A little bit of green, a little bit of black, but I'll leave it to you, Bethany, because I've been doing it for a while now. So I get clear ideas a little bit, but I'll leave it to you to do it. So over to you.
Yeah, so starting off with Liverpool, for me personally, the two that stand out are 𝐤𝐞𝐭𝐡𝐚𝐬 and 𝐵𝐵𝑡. I think obviously quite a few of us owned them, and then it was they haven't been great for us over recent weeks, blanks and things like that. But midweek they've played and they both set each other up. So one got an assist for the other and the other way around. And I think going forward, if they're fit, they will be in the team, and I think they'll be involved most heavily. So for me, I think 𝐤𝐞𝐭𝐡𝐚𝐬 and 𝐵𝐵𝑡 would be the ones I would be targeting this week, and yeah, ranked third for chances conceded down the middle. Van Dijk, I think if you've still got him playing this week, hopefully a clean sheet there against Burnley, but I'm not sure I'd necessarily be going to invest in the defence if I didn't already have them. Next up, the Man City player standing out here is Haaland and Foden. Again, I think if you already own him, that's okay to keep him for another week potentially. But for me, I think Foden has been and always will be, I think, a purple patch player. And he had that brilliant purple patch where he was scoring tons of points every game week, and then he's blanked for like the last 5 or 6. And so for me, I think he's one of those players that I don't really think it matters so much about zonal or about the team he's playing against or anything. I think it's very much, is he in form? Is he in the right headspace? And I think at the moment he's not. So I wouldn't be buying him this week. If you own him, you could keep him one more week because of the zonal. But otherwise, yeah, Haaland obviously looking like he could be a good captain again. So risky to go against. Then we've got Aston Villa, who've been quietly, since the start of the season, it's been crazy. Like the first few weeks, we all owned them. They were terrible. And then after that, they've just quietly gone away and kind of not really lost anything, won most of their matches, scored plenty of goals. I went early as part of that -16 that I ended up being forced into with players out. I went early on them. So I've got Watkins and Rodgers in, neither of them which did anything last week, which is a bit disappointing. But I think they are both really good players, and they've got some really nice fixtures going forward. So the zonal weakness looks really good for them this week. Again, third for chances conceded down the centre for both of them. But also they've got some nice fixtures going forward as well. If you bring them in, it's not just a 1 week punt, which is nice. I don't mind the cash move either. Again, Villa haven't been terrible defensively, and cash can get those attacking returns as well. Obviously, ranked first and second for chances and crosses conceded down that left flank. Then we have Arsenal, and interestingly here, actually not as good as I thought. I thought this would be a really good matchup for Arsenal, and yet not as much green, and actually some quite high rankings there, 13th, 17th, 18th for Forest. So Forest are clearly better defensively than I thought. Obviously the zonal suggesting Martinelli and Trossard. I'm just worried about them and their minutes and starting. So for me, interestingly, Arsenal are probably play who you've already got your safe players that you know are going to play every week, but they're not captain's options from this for me now. Then we have Newcastle, who play Wolves, and got to have a huge shout out to Bruno Guimaraes, because I've owned him since my -16. He helped pay off that -16, and I've got three 10-point returns from him in a row. When he was a differential, obviously quite a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon now, and if you don't own him, I suggest you do. Obviously ranked third again here, down that left flank. He's so involved in the play as well, quite good at DEFCON, that he also is quite good at getting those bonus points if he gets an attacking return, because he's really involved. You know he's going to play, he's going to start, and he's going to get pretty much 90 minutes every game too. So he would be my choice of Newcastle players right now, without a doubt. Next up, you've got Palace, who are playing Sunderland. And again, this is kind of the opposite of Forest. Sunderland, I've thought have been really good defensively. We've seen them just concede three goals the other day, but in general, they've been fairly good defensively, but not according to the data. So they've maybe been a bit lucky. So if you've still got your Palace assets, might be okay to play it in this one. Again, I wouldn't be rushing there. I don't think Palace have looked particularly good recently going forward. They've not been able to find those attacking returns. As players like Munoz comes back from injury, etc., we might be able to look back to Palace again soon. But for now, I think they're in a void for me unless you already own them. Chelsea are an interesting one. Obviously, new manager. We haven't really seen much of them yet to know kind of what he's going to do, who's going to be the preferred players, etc. So for me, I think sadly Chelsea are in a void for now. They've got some nice fixtures up, especially from game week 24. So I think they're players to watch over the next 2 matches or so, see who gets those starts, where everybody plays position-wise, who's going to get the most chances, and then look to bring them in maybe in 24, maybe on a wild card, that kind of thing. But for now, the zonal doesn't look amazing for Chelsea anyway against Brentford. Brentford have been really good. So avoid Chelsea for now. And then finally on this page, we've got Bournemouth. Obviously, one of the big news over the holidays has been Semenyo moving to City. And so that leaves them without him. I know a lot of people are going to Tavernier. Obviously, he's really cheap, great asset to have as your fifth mid. I think you can bench him if the fixtures aren't good, but this week they're looking really nice. Chances conceded down the right flank they're ranked 5th, so you could get your return there, but he's also fine to sit on your bench. Again, kind of will be interesting to know from Bournemouth kind of how they do set up. I think it'll be good minutes for like somebody like a Krupi Jr. He's not standing out for this fixture, but one to watch for future fixtures once we see how Bournemouth cope without Semenyo.
Yeah, thanks, Bethany, for that. Just a couple of points that I thought would be interesting for our audience. By the way, kudos to you for having Bruno Guimaraes, to be honest. And I was seeing like, okay, because I went for Gordon, who did nothing, absolutely nothing. And you went for Bruno Guimaraes, so I could literally see you slowly catching up every week, 10 points difference, closing in, and then suddenly you managed to overtake me. Anyway, just the one point, I mean, in regards to Wolves, we have recently seen, since the Arsenal match against Wolves, I think that's when they started to show a little bit of solidarity in terms of the defense, and they were playing a little bit tighter. And I think those ranks you can see, at least down the center, you see they're ranked 17th. And I think that's something the audience should take into account because we still have it in our head, like, Wolves, weak team, leaky, let's target them. I think that's something, a mistake that has been repeated over the weeks, couple of weeks. So I think that's something people should pay attention to. The other thing that you talked about, Sunderland, you touched upon it as well, that, they look solid and maybe they have been lucky. But, just if you look at this particular stat, and this is for the number of chances conceded, they're the worst in terms of chances conceded down the center and ranked 3rd in chances conceded down the left flank.
Yeah.
So in terms of chances conceded, they're really terrible. But in terms of goal conceding, when we look into the goal conceded chart, you'd see they're actually, I think, top 3 teams who have conceded the least amount of goals. So despite those heavy chances, team are not able to actually score. And I think it's not down to the luck.
Scoring because he's good at like kind of getting save points as well. So maybe they're conceding chances actually not necessarily the best of chances, and so he's managing to make those saves, and they're getting the clean sheet, and he's getting the save points as well. So
yeah, so something perhaps again when we look at the goal conceded ones, we'll touch upon this point to see as to where things stand and how where the difference is. But yeah, interesting point nonetheless, and I think this is something I touched upon as well in Gimmick 20 or the last one that I did. I don't remember, but it was interesting point when it popped out like oh wow, this is where it's happening, because every week I see Sunderland is kind of green, and I'm like, they're not conceding so many goals. What's happening? Yeah, and that's when I looked at the goal conceding chart, and the numbers are a huge difference. Anyway, let's move on to the second slide, and here it is. Yeah, I'll leave it to you. Over to you.
Yeah. So obviously Thiago is the one standing out here, and if you haven't owned him for the last couple of weeks, you've obviously missed out. I think he's got a hat trick and a brace. So after we all sold him, obviously. Yeah, I think Thiago's a great pick right now. There's not loads of forwards standing out. So I think he could be a great move this week. Chelsea, again, haven't looked great. So obviously there's only the one green fixture here with the chances conceded down the centre. But if you also look left flank, they're ranked 7th for chances conceded. Right flank, crosses conceded, ranked 6th. So actually there's a few other numbers in there that are not looking great for Chelsea as a defence either. So I definitely think they could be a defence to attack against. I think Brentford could be really good at doing that. Again, Schade, a great 5th midfielder, ranked 6th for those crosses conceded down the right flank, and he's been in good form as well. Then we've got Brighton up against Bournemouth. And while I think that there could be definitely goals in this game, and you've got like kind of Gruder and Veltman standing out here. Brighton are a really tricky team to kind of call. They often do have kind of random benchings and things. So for me, I probably, if you've already got a Brighton player, that's fine, but I probably wouldn't be investing despite the nice fixture. Then we've got Fulham. Fulham have been looking quite good recently. They've been managing to score plenty of goals, especially thanks to Harry Wilson, who's been either on the end of them or crossing, giving the chances to others to finish. He would be my pick here. Crosses conceded down that left flank, Harry Wilson. Yeah, he's just been on top form. So yeah, he would definitely be again, if you're trying to if you want to free up some funds somewhere to maybe bring in a Bruno Fernandes back in or something, Harry Wilson would be a great 5th midfielder as well. I owned him for a bit until he got injured, and then I had to, sadly, I couldn't hold him. It was before my bench boost week. So I had to sell him because I wasn't sure he was going to start, and then he started and got an assist, which was very frustrating. But anyway, I would have kept him through it. I think he's been a great asset this season.
Typical FPL.
Yeah, then you've got Leeds, and they're playing Fulham, and nobody's standing out this week. Though it really would not surprise me if Calvert-Lewin scores, because he seems to be on fire since he's left Everton. I don't know what he's doing. He stayed fit and scored more goals than he has in the last 4 years in a couple of months. So I do really like Calvert-Lewin. Maybe not for this week, given the zonal data, but I think in future, I think there'll definitely be a few weeks where we all go there. And yes, yeah, he could definitely pull one out, especially when lots of us own Fulham defence in like an Anderson. He's likely to be the one that ruins that clean sheet if it goes. Next up, you've got Everton. Everton have been so hard to call this season. Really tricky to know where it's coming from, or when it's going to go really well, when it's going to go terribly. Obviously, 2 red cards in the last game. Injuries and players at AFCON and everything. So I think for now they're a team to avoid. I think your players like Garner and Tarkowski are okay if you already own them, because they do regularly get those DEFCONs. But otherwise I wouldn't be looking to invest right now. Then you've got Spurs, again, a really hard team to call this season. Sometimes they're keeping clean sheets when you're not expecting them, and then other times they're conceding 4 goals. A really tricky team to call. I've got no idea. I think potentially this might be I think they're harder probably to call when they've got their Europe fixtures and things like that. So maybe before that starts again, they're not so bad, but that will soon start up again. So I think they're a team for me to avoid again. Van de Ven, if you've already owned him like I have, I've been trying to get rid of him since about game week 4, and always had bigger fires to burn, and actually then came up trumps for my bench boost, and now I've just decided I'm going to hold him. But unless you already own, I don't think I'd be choosing Spurs players right now.
And since again, game week 4. Okay, yeah. Repeat that sentence again, just for the audience.
Honestly, I've been trying to get rid of him since game week 4, and I've always had players I needed to get rid of more, so he's kept sat there. And then recently, I got him 11 pointer off my bench boost and like 2 clean sheets from him. So he's staying now. There's nobody better. And then finally, we've got West Ham and Wolves. West Ham are an avoid for me. Doesn't look great this week, zonal wise, but they just look a mess. And Wolves, like we've already said, they are looking much better. I think lots of people going for Mane up front. He's a great enabler. Seems to be getting regular starts, minutes, but also returns. If you wanted to go there this week, it's not terrible. Chances conceded from Newcastle is 6th down the centre, a bit like Calvert-Lewin. If a clean sheet goes, it's likely going to be Mane. And I think it could. But otherwise, nobody else standing out from Wolves.
Yeah. Okay. That was amazing stats, by the way, since game week 4. Okay. And then to get bench boost points and clean sheets. Okay. No, it's definitely there's nothing called FPL is not a game of luck. Yeah. It's a matter of decisions you make.
Well, I had plenty of 1-pointers from him in the middle. I missed both of his first sets of goals when he got like 2 goals and DEFCON in one game, benched him for that, and another goal where I was benched, and then I played him for about 3-4 1-pointers, and I was like, no, he really needs to go. Still had loads of issues, benched him forever, and then played him on my bench boost, and ever since he's been quite good. So
okay. It's basically you renewing your faith and trust in him, like you can do it, boy. And then Van de Ven is like fully inspired after that. That one chance he needed to prove himself right again, and he did it. And since then, the faith restored in humanity.
His entire season has been pretty much like 1 point or 0 points or an absolute haul. Like he hasn't done anything in between very much. It's one or the other.
True. Okay, let's move on to the team of the week. But that's still was one of the most interesting thing I've heard this week, or at least for the last couple of weeks. To be honest, I've seen a lot of teams. A lot of high scores and this and that, and people even took Dorgu and stuff. But this, Van de Ven, stands out the best. Anyway, over to you with the teams of the week.
Yep, I think we've pretty much discussed all of these people already. I think the ones that frighten me as non-owners this week are 𝐤𝐤𝐿 and 𝐵𝑟𝑡z playing Burnley, and that link up together that I feel like they can both hurt me. Like with the one goal, I feel like it could be 𝐵𝑟𝑡z passing to 𝐤𝐤𝐿 to score, or the other way around. So I think they're a great pick this week, and they've got other nice fixtures next week too. Again, I think Rodgers and Watkins could be similar, that one could set up the other, which is nice. The only person on here that I'm doubtful about is Foden. I do think he's lost that. Despite what the zonal says, I think at some point with him, you've just got to go. He's not on it anymore. And when he's not on it as well, and hasn't been for so long, it just worries me that Pep could bench him. So Foden is a worry, but otherwise I think some really nice options here that you could hold long term as well, like the double ups in Liverpool or Aston Villa.
Well, with Foden, there's an interesting fact that I just wanted to say. The guy who creates our content, actually, he had back in game week 12 or game week 11, he said, Foden's time is coming. And I was like, what makes you say that? The stats are rubbish and he's playing rubbish and he's not doing anything. And he's like, no, usually, and then he goes like this, usually during this game week 13 period to game week 17 period, for some reason, Foden seems to be finding form. And I've noticed it over the couple of years. And I was like, do you have any historical data? And he wanted to dig, but I think we got carried away with creating content. And that was exactly when he started to, hit the form. And then,
I brought him in on free hit. I can't remember which week it was that I brought him on free hit. And that was the first of his hauls. And then I didn't own him the week after, where he got a week or two afterwards. I think he got under
Yeah.
2 holes. And then I brought him in, like blanking ever since or whatever. But yeah, I brought him in on that free hit, and I was so 50-50 between him and 𝐁𝐞𝐿. And 𝐁𝐞𝐿 got like 3 points, and he got like 13. But it was kind of like it's only because I'm on free hit. And I felt like we all got lucky, because where did it come from? He hadn't had it before that, but we managed to pick him. And then he is a really strange player to be able to predict.
So I don't know. He has another theory, the similar sort of a theory, and I was telling him like, So I was telling him, okay, now that game week 17 is over and he's been on a bad form, and I want to kick him out, and I want to get somebody else in, And this was in game week 21, and then he says, no, don't kick him out. I was like, why? He's been last 4-5 game weeks. He's done nothing. I'm tired. I need to change. And he's like, no, listen, you should have actually kicked him out during your wildcard when you played it in game week 18. But from game week 22, 23, 24, again, Foden tends to pick up a little bit of form again. Mm-hmm. So just stay patient a little bit. And then, so I'm saying like, okay, this time I'm really going to check it out. Yeah. So I'm just saying it to the audience. You can check it out.
Together, we can see whether or not it's right, and whether we need to look back on it, whether Foden's
and he has absolutely no data to support his arguments, by the way. It's just that he always says that this is what he felt, and this is what he felt like, it was happening at a similar time. So it's like a more of like, this is the period when we have the Christmas kind of a thing. Or maybe this is the time when we have this festival, right? Like that sort of a sentiment that he has. And he said it, and it worked in the previous one. But now he says it's, I think, from 22, 23 around, or maybe from 24 onwards. And it will not be a very long one. It will be, again, another 2-3 game weeks where he'll give a little bit of haul, and then that's it. It'll go quiet again. So I was like, okay, I'm not kicking him out there. He said, no, just stay patient a little bit. Just stay patient, and he'll come back again. I said, okay. Anyway, let's try that theory, and you have him as well. So keep an eye on that as well. Yeah. Okay. Here is the goal considered zonal wise chart. So yeah, the first 5 and the last 5. So over to you, Bethany.
Yeah, I think the ones here to focus on are kind of the ones that are maybe more surprising, like that fact that Bournemouth, for a lot of the season, we've all owned 𝐶𝐸. And obviously at one point, Bournemouth were really high up in the league, but they plummeted recently, especially defensively. So we're often on an old fixture ticker. If you're looking at them, they might have Bournemouth as a hard fixture. Actually, definitely play your attackers against Bournemouth. They're likely to get goals. So I think that's one that stands out there. I think a bit like you said, Wolves obviously not as bad as we've seen recently. So it'll be interesting to see over the next coming weeks where Wolves move to in this table, and see whether they actually kind of make it into 6th, 7th, 8th or something rather than 3rd, because they are getting better. And similarly, Fulham, they're ranked 8th. We all seem to think of Fulham as quite a good defence, so a lot of us do own Anderson. So it's kind of just knowing that owning Anderson is fine because he gets the DEFCON, but you're not going to see a super load of clean sheets there, which might be might surprise you.
Right, and I think in the next table we'll find Sunderland. So let's have a look. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at rank number 18.
What's interesting with Sunderland, I am considering bringing a Sunderland defender in this week because I've got Keane, who's injured. No, red carded. And Sunderland defender, they're cheap. I think the key thing with Sunderland, and this data does suggest that actually, is that they are much better at home. So if they're playing at home, play them. They're much higher likelihood to get a clean sheet there. They've conceded only 8 goals at home, whereas they've conceded 14, so nearly double away from home. So if you've got a Sunderland defender, they're likely going to be your 4th or 5th defender. So rotate them out, play them when they're at home, and put them on the bench when they're away, and you should get some quite good results, I think, there. Again, interestingly, with some of these, Everton kind of not as close to the bottom anymore. The same with as good as what we'd had previously. Similar with Newcastle, they're not as good as they were previously. It's still not surprising. Arsenal, best defence in the league. Although we have seen them struggle a little bit recently, where they've had kind of a mixture of players. They have been lacking one or two of their main players, and we have seen them concede a goal here or there. But hopefully, with everyone back, they should go back to their best, and we might get back to the double ups there. Again, Man City is surprising, because the data suggests that they should be better, but again, they do love conceding a goal. So one to look out for. And similarly, Palace ranked 17th, so they should be a defence that we're invested in. We were for a lot of the season, and then they've kind of gone to pothole recently. So hopefully, when they get you players like Munoz back, etc., and some of their AFCON players like Sarr, hopefully they are a team that we can start investing in again.
Right. So we've gone a little bit beyond time, but I think it's deservedly so. I mean, true, because I think we are back. We came back after 2 weeks, and you are back after many weeks. So, yeah, I think it deserved a little bit of attention, and we have the break as well. So a lot of people might have completely forgotten what has happened in Game Week 21. At least I forgot what happened in 21. So it was a good recap for us. So yeah, it was worth investing. But thank you so much, audience, for joining. And I hope you like the show and you like the discussion. And it's good to have Bethany back. Happy New Year again, Bethany. And yeah, we'll see you in Game Week 24. And of course, you audience, you'll get to see me on Game Week 23. But until then, goodbye. Take care.